Good day, everybody. In the last video, we discussed the research, and that was about the Harvard referencing, the in-text referencing, and organizing or grouping our information from our opinions. And now we are going on to the essay, the actual write-up of the Peel method, and how we would put the in-text referencing in our essay. For an academic essay, it includes the introduction, body, and conclusion, just like every other essay you've done with a narrative and descriptive. But now it's an academic essay in which you use the Peel method to back up an argument. All right, so point, explanation, example, link is the Peel method. For each paragraph that you have in your academic essay, you would put in the Peel method. I'll show you a template of this. Okay, so this template you can use for any academic write-up. It's the basic or the foundation of your Peel method. You have your introduction here, your body has the Peel method, and lastly the conclusion. So about 5 paragraphs. For introduction, you literally introduce your theme, the definition of your theme, using in-text references. Then your body, it's your opinion of the driving question and backing up your opinion with the book or websites. Your conclusion would be summarizing these paragraphs in your Peel method. And for those who do not have it, I will put a link in the description. In our previous video, I gave an example of a driving question. So how does the theme of love and violence relate to Of Mice and Men? I would put it in the spot of the template, the title. And then I found a definition for love and violence. I put this in my introduction, but I wouldn't use this entire quote. I'd prefer to use my own words, but also reference Merriam-Webster because that's where I got the definition from. We also mentioned proving your points. So my point, answering love and violence, I know characters that relate to love and violence. I said Lenny was one, Candy was the second, and George was the third. In my head already, I know that these will be my paragraphs for my Peel method. Each character would be one paragraph. So Lenny would be my point. He relates to love and violence. Candy relates to love and violence, and George relates to love and violence. And I will show this to you. Here's a template on a Word document. My introduction, my body, and my conclusion. My driving question would be or a title for any academic essay. Then you'd actually put this mind map into your full paragraphs. And I put word counts that you can possibly use here on the side. For grade 8, it's 200 to 250 words in the CAPS document. And this is a template you can use for your Peel method. For each point that you've made in your body, P1, P2, and P3, you would just put it in here and then explain it, give an example for it, link it back to the driving question. And I'll show you the full example of this in another Word document. So here is the Peel method for my essay, using the theme of love and violence. I'm giving you a full example using everything that I researched in the last video. So definition of love and violence, because of Merriam-Webster, I know my definition now. I would just put that in my introduction. In the novel Of Mice and Men, the theme of love is contrasted with violence. Love is defined as a strong affection, while violence refers to physical pain inflicted on someone. I got that from Merriam-Webster. You see, I used my own words from what Merriam-Webster said, but I'm still giving credit where credit is due. And now I link it to Of Mice and Men. We see this theme through characters Lenny, Candy, and George. And I'd put that in my body. Lenny, Candy, and George. Lenny loves touching soft things, but is violent to them. Candy loves his dog and regrets not killing it himself. George cares about Lenny and shoots him at the end. So this idea of love and violence, this contrast is shown with each of these characters, and I show it in each paragraph. So I've put my in-text references for Merriam-Webster, and now I use my in-text references for the other websites and the page numbers that I found. Remember this? All of these websites that I have mentioned, I mentioned Merriam-Webster, Steinbeck, Bartleby. This wasn't just for fun. I'm going to use this in my essay. I noticed that some people that did their research, the same research you didn't put it in your essay afterwards. The whole point of the research is to find the information to put in your essay. Okay, so let's try Lenny first. In my first paragraph, I'm basing it all on Lenny. My point, Lenny, he loves touching soft things, but is violent to them. Lenny has an affection for soft materials, but he pisses them so hard and ends up hurting them. So it shows the love of soft materials, but it also shows that violence, he ends up hurting them. So I'm explaining my point in further detail. Now I'll give an example, and that is my in-text reference in pink that you see here. Okay, an example is how he was accused of raping a woman because he felt her dress and he petted it like it was a mouse. So this links to his love for soft materials, and I quoted from the novel. According to Bartleby, this is a suffocating love that only serves Lenny but pains everyone else. This links to this idea of violence and love. See how I used these two references. I used Steinbeck and I used Bartleby in my PL method to explain my point further. Now I have my next paragraph. I chose Candy for my next point. Candy adores his dog and regrets not killing it himself. Candy wished he had shot his beloved dog instead of Carlson, for this idea of his dog that he loves, but also this contrast of violence, the shooting. An example, in the novel, I ought to have shot that dog myself, not let no stranger shoot my dog. And that's what I got from my research to prove that he wanted to kill the dog himself. And now we link it back to the theme of love and violence. Candy wanted to be responsible for putting the dog out of his misery, despite violence being involved. He loves his dog. He shows his love for putting him out of his misery, but also violence is involved with the shooting. And then lastly, George. For my third paragraph, he cares about Lenny and shoots him at the end. Unlike Candy, George succeeded in shooting his companion. How Candy wanted to be responsible for putting the dog out of his misery, George was able to do that with Lenny. An example of this, I actually did mention Steinbeck and IPL. I took this from my research. I'll show you. From my research, I never seen one guy take so much trouble for another guy. Steinbeck, 1937, and your page number. I also used IPL. He killed Lenny out of love. I will use this for my essay. You know, Mice and Men, he's the only man to take so much trouble for another guy. He even went so far as to kill Lenny out of love. So both of these examples, in-text references, gives me proof that George loved Lenny, but he also killed him. He used violence on him. By taking the response to this, now I'm linking back to my driving question, love and violence. By taking the responsibility to kill Lenny instead of Curly, George proves how much he cares for Lenny. So he kills Lenny, this idea of violence, but he still cares for him. Because if Curly had done it, then Lenny would suffer. And that's all for my peel method. Now I just tie it all together. In conclusion, the contrasts of love and violence are shown through characters such as Lenny, Candy, and George. Of Mice and Men, proving that there truly is such a thing as tough love. So a very bittersweet ending, along with the bittersweet title. Right? And that's how you use your research to integrate into your essay. For the bibliography, I just copy-pasted from my research, Bartleby, IPR, Merriam-Webster, Steinbeck. And then this is the word count for grade 8 and 9 in caps. Grade 8 is 200 to 250. Grade 9 is 250 to 300. So this is how you do the essay. Introduction, body, and conclusion. And you add your peel method. This is how you add your peel method in, along with your conclusion to sum everything up. And that is the essay. I will still put this template up for you in the description. But for now, this is how your points would be integrated into the peel method, 1 point per paragraph. And then you'd sum all of this up in your conclusion. Thank you for listening. I hope the essay and the research makes more sense to you after these videos. I hope you will have better luck writing up your research and essay this time. Thank you.